The surprising plot of John Wick Chapter 4 paves the way for a potential fifth film in the franchise. Although it's at least conceivable that John's story concludes in his next film, a John Wick 5 hasn't been ruled out. There is at least a probability that the studio may use Keanu Reeves' character in another movie. Also, John Wick 4 is finally unleashing the franchise's massive universe. Watch this video completely for details. First up, why are John Wick movies getting longer in the franchise? The fourth film of the John Wick franchise will be the longest one to date, and there are strong reasons for this trend. Given how the franchise has developed, it makes sense that the John Wick movies keep getting longer. John Wick Chapter 4 will finally see Lawrence Fishburne's Bowery King supporting Keanu Reeves' John Wick as he battles the High Table. Multiple John Wick 4 descriptions guarantee that viewers may anticipate a broad scope from the film, including in its runtime. Though its duration hasn't been made public yet, John Wick 4 will reportedly be the longest John Wick film. Each John Wick movie has been lengthier than the previous one, which is a logical outcome of the narrative they've presented. It all originates from the original purpose and development of John's mission. In John Wick, John was just seeking revenge for the death of his dog. Nevertheless, in John Wick Chapter 2, he finds himself being drawn back into the world of assassination against his will. Each assassin has increased the stakes for the John Wick series and its tale, leaving John on the run from them in John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. The need for longer runtimes has also been driven by this, and two other important causes. More and more information about the ways in which the High Table's secretive assassins community functions is revealed in each new John Wick film. This has also led to an expansion in the scope of the tale in each John Wick movie. The John Wick films frequently embrace extended running durations because they provide each plot the freedom and breathing room they require. Additionally, with each new installment of the John Wick series, both the cast that joins it and the action scenes get bigger and more complex. Every John Wick film has more well-known actors, as well as wilder action scenes including martial arts, gun fu, and stunt work, as evidenced by the martial arts stars in John Wick 4. Every John Wick film has expanded in length to accommodate everyone, and it's been a huge success. The fact that John Wick 4 broke the franchise's runtime record would appear to make John Wick Chapter 5 breaking it inevitable, but this is only part of the Baba Yaga story. The John Wick movies require all the time they can get, since the plot is continuously developing in a universe that is continually evolving, and the action scenes are getting more and more incredible. Thankfully, John Wick Chapter 4's length shows that they aren't in danger of being short on it, making it easy to add additional action figures to the franchise. Next up, John Wick 4 is finally unleashing the franchise's huge universe. According to the newest John Wick Chapter 4 trailer, Parabellum won't even compare to this movie in terms of cast, combat scenes, or locations. The scope of John Wick's upcoming journey is shown in the second trailer, which hints that it will be the most ambitious entry in the franchise thus far. John Wick has repeatedly shown its ability to reinvent itself, moving from a straightforward drama about a former hitman seeking retribution for his dog to an epic thriller about the world of covert assassins. Although John Wick 2014 may have been a standalone picture, John Wick Chapter 2 broadened the universe and enabled the tale to continue over numerous films, each of which felt more substantial than the previous. With John Wick's in Italy in John Wick 2 and the majority of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum taking place in Morocco, the franchise has already gone international. The teaser for John Wick 4 suggests that the franchise will continue to be global in scope, but this is not the only reason for the fourquel's wider reach. In John Wick 4, there appear to be more significant characters than in the previous movies, including both foes and allies. In John Wick 4, which will have the cast additions of Bill Skarsgård, Donnie Yen, Hiroyuki Sanada, and Scott Adkins, in what appears to be a much larger setting, Winston, Charon, and the Bowery King will all be back, and why John Wick 4 could be the best chapter ever. It's always thrilling to see Keanu Reeves and other major action actors on screen, but John Wick also succeeds in fusing spectacular fight scenes with an intriguing, constantly evolving story. No John Wick movie is ever like the last one, which is why John Wick 4 could be the finest one yet. This is due to the High Table, the Continental Hotel's inner workings, and the fact that John Wick can find enemies and allies wherever in the world. The two John Wick 4 trailers have disproved the notion that there isn't enough room for John Wick to grow beyond Parabellum. In a way, John Wick 4 creates a problem for John Wick 5. John Wick Chapter 4 will undoubtedly be the franchise's most ambitious film in terms of scale, both in terms of the actors and the locales hinted at in the trailers. However, John Wick 4 poses a challenge to the previously scheduled John Wick 5. As thrilling as it is to have a large-scale John Wick film with Keanu Reeves' character taking on the High Table, whatever John Wick 4 accomplishes in terms of action scenes and story, John Wick 5 is likely to go much further. Although each John Wick movie has managed to reinvent itself, the series will finally reach its pinnacle. The issue that John Wick has so far overcome overcome is how to make a continuation that is greater than the first movie, yet does not feel repetitive. Similar to how Chapter 2 was larger than the first John Wick, Parabellum was larger than Chapter 2. If John Wick Chapter 4 is able to successfully balance its grand scope with the compelling narrative, it may end up being the finest John Wick film to date. However, the film should allow some room for John Wick 5 to continue naturally extending the universe, especially if the franchise wishes to avoid the error of having less realistic films with each movie, like Fast and Furious and The Expendables. Also, John Wick 4's surprising story sets up a fifth movie. The surprising storyline of John Wick Chapter 4 paves the way for a potential fifth film in the series. Even though it's at least possible that John's saga ends in his next movie, a John Wick 5 hasn't been considered ruled out. There is at least a probability that the production may continue using Keanu Reeves' character in another film. The John Wick 4 trailer gave a hint as to how the series may continue its story. The conclusion of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum hinted that John's next task would be to survive the impending conflict with the High Table. His purpose isn't quite as high though, as some people had assumed. It felt fitting that John Wick Chapter 4 would center on the protagonist taking down the organization, since the third movie had established him as being at odds with the High Table. The movie will instead center on John's efforts to win over the High Table. That implies the narrative about John actively combating them can wait until John Wick 5, and then the High Table's survival is good for John Wick 5. According to reports, John Wick's strategy in the newest film is to defeat Bill Skarsgård Marquise de Gramont in a one-on-one duel in order to persuade the High Table to leave him alone. In other words, John has not yet expressed a desire to demolish the High Table. The High Table remaining intact at the conclusion of the film is therefore becoming increasingly plausible, barring a plot twist in which John does succeed in wiping them off. The fact that the squad is still alive is encouraging for the possibility of a fifth John Wick film, since it's essential to the lore of the franchise. The movie franchise would struggle to devise a plot with larger stakes for John Wick 5 if the High Table were to collapse in John Wick 4. After all, the protagonist would be viewed as overcoming the High Table being the ultimate goal because of its massive power. The studio will have a strong justification for continuing John's narrative on the big screen, as long as they're still alive, and John Wick 5 may be the film that eventually sets Keanu Reeves' character against the High Table, depending on how the events have developed and what was shown in the trailer. Finally, how the conclusion of John Wick 4 could hint at the fifth film. The exact circumstance that would lead to a conflict with the High Table in John Wick 5 is hinted at in the trailer for John Wick Chapter 4. To make peace with the High Table, John must defeat the Marquis in a duel to the death, but if he breaks their laws or fails to win the battle in any other way, he will most certainly forfeit that chance. If that happened, John's only option would be to permanently shut down the organization. The narrative of John going after each member separately has enough action to fill an entire movie. There you have it. The surprising story for John Wick Chapter 4 sets up a potential fifth installment in the franchise. How long can they really keep it going? Will the next movies meet up with the standard of the previous ones? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.